My husband left me alone with a man during a threesome, and the man got forceful, claiming he was promised more. I left my husband after realizing it was likely a setup. I'll try to keep this brief, but there's a bit of backstory. My husband and I have been together for around 15 years, and while our sex life has always been good, it was starting to feel a little repetitive and stale. After talking it over, we decided to spice things up by exploring the idea of having a couple of threesomes. One would be with another woman, and the other with another man. To make things fair, we agreed that I would choose the woman, and he would be responsible for picking the man. At the time, it seemed like a reasonable plan, and we were both on board. He has always had a preference for small, petite women, even though I'm 5'8" and more on the busty side. So, to make sure he'd be happy, I chose a small, dainty woman that he instantly loved. We all had a fantastic time together, and things went so well that we even made plans for her to come back the following Saturday. In fact, I had gone above and beyond, arranging a surprise for him at the end of the month, when not only she, but 2 of her friends would join us, giving him the ultimate experience of being with 4 women at once. This detail will become important later on. Anyway, onto the guy he chose for me. He knows I'm not into bodybuilder types. He chose a 6'5", 20-stone giant of a man who had muscles on top of muscles. We started, and it was great fun. My husband finished first and said he was going to get a drink and go have a smoke, so I said okay and this guy carried on. After about 20 minutes he finished, and I realized my husband hadn't come back. I went downstairs and his car was gone. The big guy followed me downstairs and asked where my husband was, and I said I didn't know. He grabbed me and said that means we can go again and started trying to kiss me. I said no, the moment's gone. He literally picked me up and carried me upstairs. I was like a rag doll to him. I said no again when we got to the top of the stairs, and he was laughing and telling me how much I loved it, and he knows I want more. This back and forth went on for about 5 minutes, and I was absolutely terrified. He was big, strong, and I knew I didn't stand a chance if I tried to fight him off. He told me that my husband had promised him a full night of sex, and since he'd only had an hour, he wasn't leaving until he got more. I refused and asked him to leave, but he wouldn't back down. Instead, he said he'd only leave if I performed a certain act for him first. Again, I said no. The conversation continued like this for what felt like forever, with him getting more aggressive and walking closer to me. Fear took over, and I panicked, agreeing to something if we could do it downstairs, and he would leave afterward. He agreed. Once he left, I tried calling my husband, but he wouldn't answer me. I rang his friends and family, but none of them answered. I sat up all night scared, and eventually he came whole at 6 a.m. I went off on him and told him what had happened and asked where he went. He said he got some post but clarity and left before he ruined anything. I said some choice words about him and how he left me alone with a man who could snap me like a twig, and then I told him what the man made me do before he left, and he just said, well, you'd already done everything with him, why not just do it again? I saw red and stormed out myself. Later, when I spoke to him, he tried to shift the blame, asking, why is it okay for you to get insecure, but not me? I was confused and asked him what he was talking about. He brought up the first time Sabrina came over, claiming I left for 20 minutes. In reality, I had gone to wash my hair and grab more drinks for us, even telling them, you two carry on, I'll be back soon. When I returned, I immediately joined back in. Plus, as I'd already mentioned, I had done it again since then, and had even shared what I'd planned for the end of the month. It's been a week now, and he still doesn't see how he did anything wrong or how he left me in such a dangerous situation. I told him that I was seriously considering calling the police, but he just brushed it off, saying it would be ridiculous to involve them since we had invited the guy over for sex in the first place. He thinks I'm overreacting, but honestly I feel like I'm underreacting. Part of me wants to leave him and report the guy right away, but another part of me thinks I should give it some time to see if I calm down and can think things through more clearly. Toldra had a threesome with another man, husband walked out and other man got forceful. Comments. Der Pedram Cynthia. Holy fuck, that's scary to read. You divorce him, that's how. OOP. I don't want to face it, but that thought has been getting louder and louder in my mind. Tex Moshikin. Your husband was okay with you getting raped, that's all you need to know. Particular_sock_2864. What in the hell did I just read? You were alone with this guy and he wouldn't take no for an answer, thinking because your husband promised him a night of sex it's okay to force you into it. It's like you're property for both of them. To me it's like your husband pimped you out, and that guy is a rapist to me. No means fucking no. The fact that you needed to agree to something before he left against your explicit, well, having said no is horrible because you did it out of fear of that guy, and to me that's more than sexual assault, it's rape. I'd certainly get the police involved and dump your husband ASAP. This is just a total nightmare to read, and where can you even go from that with your husband if he's not even taking seriously what happened? You may need some counseling for that if you think it might help you grasp what happened and for clarity of what to do with it. Wishing you all the best and that you can heal from this. Update, 1 month later. I still get messages about this over a month later, and I just want to say how much I appreciate the support. It truly means a lot knowing that so many strangers care. To clear up a few questions from the original post, the threesomes were his idea, and I was the one who suggested bidsome to spice things up. In the first couple of years, we had quite a few threesomes with his friends, and he never had an issue or walked away from them. After the 2 threesomes with Sabrina, I told him I was fine if he didn't want to continue with Mim anymore and was happy to just have regular ones with her, but he insisted that he still wanted the Mepham. Another question I got was why it was acceptable for me to leave him alone with her, but not for him to leave me alone with the man. The key difference is that I left him for only 10 minutes to rinse something out of my hair in our ensuite bathroom, and the woman was 4'11", much smaller and less physically intimidating. In contrast, he drove away from our home, leaving me alone for 8 hours with a man who was at least 7 inches taller and likely 10 stone heavier than me, putting me in a far more dangerous and vulnerable situation. Was he with Sabrina when he left me alone? No, he definitely wasn't. In fact, he didn't even have any contact details for her. Did he plan to leave me alone? And was it all a setup? I have no concrete evidence to prove this, and it wasn't even something that crossed my mind before I made my last post, but now I genuinely believe it was orchestrated. It seems like he told the guy I'd be willing for a night of sex. Another detail that came to me a few days after my post was that the other guy mentioned he had to be at work by 6 a.m. and would be tired from having no sleep. This almost confirms to me that he was expecting to stay up all night, likely due to a planned night of sex, and my husband conveniently returned home at 6 a.m. when he knew the guy would already be gone. Have I been to the police? No, I can't be asked with the hassle. Did we end up going through with the surprise miff I had arranged for him? Absolutely not. LOL. On to the update. I left the day I made the post. It hit me that I had to go, so I packed up and left. That night, I went to my friend Sabrina's house and got drunk with her, as she was the only person I knew he wouldn't be able to contact or track down. I booked an Airbnb I was away for the next week, giving me some space to figure things out. While I was there, a friend of mine, who happens to be a letting agent, managed to sort out a flat for me that I could move into quickly. I transferred the deposit and first month's rent right away. Once I returned, I signed the contract and moved in. For the first few days, I was sleeping on an air bed with no furniture, but now the place is finally feeling nice and cozy. I left my husband a note saying I wanted a divorce and asked him not to contact me. He's respected that for the most part, only reaching out with questions about essentials regarding the house. I've spoken to a lawyer but haven't started any official proceedings yet, mostly because moving into my flat has left me strapped for cash. I plan to get the ball rolling in the next couple of weeks. I saw him once, while I was on the bus he drove past in the car. Honestly, I didn't feel a thing. No love, no anger, no hatred, just complete emptiness. So that's the update. Nothing really salacious or interesting, I'm afraid, and I just want to thank everyone again for their support. Told you I left him. Comments. Heart According 5241. Did you tell Sabrina what he did? What did she think? OOP, yes, and she was disgusted. He Ghost Tox. Did he sell you? Beatsy, the man said he promised me a night. I only got 1 hour. Weird. OOP. That's what I've been trying to find out, but I can't. T Ghost Tox. Kind of sounds like it. What a pose if he did. I'm so sorry you had to go through that. Glad you left. Stay far away from him. Oh, I'll never ever go near him again. Pattycakes 86. Does he still have any contact with Sabrina? OOP, he never had any way of contacting her. I did all the contact with her.